Hey everyone, I wanted to record a follow-up video to my last video, um, which in that video, I was pointing to how things can be true at different levels of consciousness, right? And I had a real life example of this in my own life in recent months that I wanted to share that I thought might help bring it to life. So as part of my sort of journey over, many years, of the last sort of 2 decades or so, I used to meditate a lot, certainly in the early stages. And, I used to get great relief from it. It was a chance to reconnect to that kind of space before thought, that kind of space of well-being. But I didn't last long in it a lot of the time. And what would happen is I'd sort of come out of it and then, be back in the craziness of my mind and living from that place. And that only started to change when I started to learn more about the three principles. And I learned that, there was no data in my thinking, that it was just creating my moment to moment experience of life. And that I didn't need to mine my thinking in order to find out how to navigate life. There was a part of us, and in the moment knowing, that would come through us, and that is where we could navigate life from with so much more ease and grace. And as a result of seeing that insight, I started to find I didn't need to meditate so much anymore. And for the most part, it dropped away. Now, in recent months, I've gone through a very, very challenging period. And there was no amount of my insight into my thinking, into, that in the moment knowing, like particularly in the early stages of this journey, there was no amount of my insight that I'd had into that was that was allowing me to come out of the noise in my head. There was a lot of scary thinking going on. There was a lot of trying to figure things out. And intuitively, I knew to meditate again. So I found myself picking up a tool, which was meditation. And it was incredibly helpful. It has been incredibly helpful. Now, I'm not doing it anywhere near as much as I was at the beginning of this period. It's settled down a lot since then. And my depth of understanding in the nature of my thinking, the nature of my knowing has grown in this new context. But at the very beginning, it was invaluable to me. As were other things like, healing frequencies and, all sorts of other things that I was engaged with. And it's one of the reasons why I don't align myself to any particular paradigm or practice, because for me, everything has its value at different levels of consciousness. And we are contextually at different levels of consciousness, because there were things during this recent period which I didn't get in my head about, because I'd already seen that I didn't need to get into my thinking about them contextually. But then this new situation that had come up, I had no idea. I was out to lunch in that context. So it was helpful for me to pick up practices and things to do and things that I might have put down from my sort of past experience. So I don't like to align myself and say, well, I'm a such and such practitioner, or this is true and this is not true. I don't think that that's helpful. For me, there are things at different levels of consciousness that make sense. And as we go through our journey and as our insight changes, yes, we will put things down and we will pick other things up. And sometimes we get to a point where we don't pick anything up at all. There's actually nothing for us to do. But for me, that's a stage, that's a journey that we go on. And if we try and pigeonhole ourselves into one thing, we can find ourselves getting trapped at different stages of our journey and in different contexts. So I just wanted to share that because I thought it was a really sort of helpful real life example of what I was trying to share in the last video, and hopefully might help bring things to life for you too. So I hope you have a nice rest of the weekend, and sending lots of love. Bye.